Bernstein Show. Now, here's Ed.
Joining us today is somebody deeply committed to honoring lives lost and supporting a community that we'll never forget. Our guest is Kelly McMahill. She's the treasurer of the Forever One Memorial. That memorial stands as a powerful tribute to the 58 victims of the October 1st tragedy here in Las Vegas and serves as a place for remembrance and reflection and healing. Welcome, Kelly.
Thank you.
This has been, how many years now?
We're coming up on 9 years this October.
9 years this October. And there's a lot of controversy about what to do with the location of where, and by the way, you say 1 October or October 1?
We say 1 October.
1 October, where 1 October occurred, across the street there from the Mandalay. So was there, finally, after a lot of conversation, I guess they decided to leave it and develop a memorial there?
Absolutely. So actually going back to when this originally occurred, the MGM very swiftly actually donated the 2 acres on the concert venue site to be the space for the memorial. And so the location was never in question. And interestingly enough, I was able to sit on the 1 October Memorial Committee. There was a group of 7 of us that came together, and we spent 4 years working with the impacted community to come up with a number of things. First of all, where do you want this memorial? Because it's going to be their memorial. What are some of the words and the values that you want to go along with this? Some of the design concepts we left up to them. Overwhelmingly, over 70% of them said, we want this on the concert site. And at that point, MGM was generous and they donated the 2-acre parcel to us.
And when you talk about the design, we have some, I believe, some photos of how it looks. What were you trying to capture?
So as part of that memorial committee, what we really were doing was asking the impacted community. And when I say that, there were 22,000 people at this concert. And I don't think people understand the magnitude of what that number looks like, right? So going back, we had 22,000 people there on the 3rd night of a 3-day festival enjoying themselves when the shooting began. As a result of that today, it's still the worst shooting in U.S. history, the worst mass shooting in U.S. history. We had 58 lives lost that night, 422 people shot with an AR-style rifle, and over 850 that were injured. And so we really went to the people that were impacted. We sent out multiple surveys asking them what they wanted, and we knew certain elements were not going to work. We couldn't be like New York. We can't use water. We live in the desert. We had to be respectful of that. So they really chose to use light as their way of capturing what that night meant to them, both the good and the bad, because there was a lot of good that happened that night as well.
A lot of lives saved, a lot of people who stepped up, and first responders that did amazing things at risk of their own life while the shooting was still going on.
Absolutely.
Over the last 9 years, you've been in touch with some of the families there. How's that impacted you?
I would be remiss if I didn't say, going back, that at the time this happened, I was a captain at LVMPD. My husband, who is now the sheriff, was the undersheriff, so the number 2 at the time. We worked this from the minute our phone rang that night for a straight month without break. It took us a while to get the criminal aspect of that investigation done, and then Sheriff Lombardo at the time asked me to write the after-action report. So what that really meant for me is that I spent 18 months heavily involved in this mass shooting. And as a result of writing the after-action report, I was able to meet a lot of the people that were affected by this. And so many of them stand out, Ed, but I have to tell you that the one that really stands out to me, maybe because I'm the mother of 5, is Angela McEldoon. She lives in Canada with her husband. They're lovely people, and they lost their only son, 23-year-old Jordan, that night at the concert. And over the last 9 years, getting to see her in her stages of grief and see how resilient she is. And by the way, she loves our city. They come here quite often. I think they come here also to feel closer to Jordan, because this is the last place that he was alive. But when you meet a mother that says to you, Jordan was supposed to carry on our last name and he was our only child. And now to know that he's going to be remembered at this memorial, that there's going to be this 58-foot tall candle with his name on it, with his story on it. She tells me all the time that means the world to me. He's never going to die. People will always have a place to come and learn about him.
Yeah. Now you've been a police officer for a lot of years, some 25 years, and you kind of worked your way right up the ranks. You're from patrol officer to a sergeant, lieutenant, captain, and ended up the commander of the what was it, the South Central Area Command. Yeah. You've seen a lot, and you've met with a lot of victims over the years. How is the victims over at 1 October different than a typical crime victim?
Oh gosh, that's hard to answer, because to me every victim is special, and every victim, you know, we try to take care of to the best of our ability. But I think this was so different because, you know, I policed this city for 25 years, and we know that people come to Vegas to have a good time. And the year before this happened, I was actually the incident commander out there at this concert. So I had an entire night where I was hanging out with all the concert goers and keeping them safe. And so I knew the venue very well, this 17.5-acre concert venue. Mm-hmm. I think that this was so different. Number one, it shocks the conscience, right? When this many rounds are fired at people, it shocks the conscience to know that these people came to our city to have a great time, and we couldn't protect them that night. That resonates with me. I know it stays with my husband and I. It stays with all the first responders that worked this event. And look, a lot of them were different because we lost them. If I was a captain in area command and I had a victim, my victim usually lived in my area command. This time we had 58 lives that were lost from as far away as Canada. So a lot of these people left our city to go home and grieve, and we couldn't continue to wrap our arms around them because they weren't local. And that hurts you as a first responder because you want to make sure they're taken care of. And so for me now, moving forward, again, 9 years later, I've never stepped away from this incident, not once. And so being part of the Vegas Strong Fund nonprofit and being able to build something permanent and lasting and beautiful for the 58 lives that we lost, for their family members, and for all the 22,000 that were there, that means the world to me to be able to help them in that way.
Wow. It's interesting how your life changes. I mean, here you were at, you know, as being kind of part of the event beforehand, and then here you're 9 years later, you're still working the event.
I am.
In a lot of ways. Yeah. Let's talk about what you want to accomplish there, and how beautiful it's going to look. I know that there's been some very generous donations so far. I mean, this has been like a $34 million adventure. You've raised $22 million. You're down to, which is about 2/3 of the target. You're down to the closing months to try to finish the job, and you're going to be breaking ground this year, right? This year, around
the 9th remembrance. And so, boy, this has been a heavy lift, I won't lie. I've never been part of anything like this with this type of price tag attached to it, but I did a lot of research on memorials, and what we realize is that every memorial that's successful is typically built using private funding and public funding. And so our goal was to go after that public funding first and be able to say to our private donors, here's what we've accomplished. And I think we've been really successful in that. You know, it's unfortunate, we went up to the legislature last session and we had an entire day that was nothing but 1 October Memorial Day. We had survivors and family members of victims fly in and talk to our lawmakers, and sadly we walked away with nothing. And again, they have a difficult job to do. They make tough decisions up north. And so I don't know why that happened. I just know that we left with no donations. And so luckily for us, the county has stepped in and agreed to give us $10 million, which is incredible. The MGM put in another $5 million on top of the land that they donated. The LVCVA is also giving us $5 million. And then our first private donor, which probably isn't a surprise to anyone, was Ed Foley. And he is an incredible human being.
Yeah, well, of course, you know, Bill Foley, the owner of the Golden Knights, among other things, and that is so closely linked to 1 October, right? Because for those of you who weren't there at the time, after forever, we finally got a professional team in Las Vegas, the Las Vegas Golden Knights, and their first home game was scheduled, what was it, October 3rd or 4th?
It was 10 days.
10 days, October 10th. Their first home game ever was scheduled for October 10th. And the intervening factor, of course, was 1 October. And the community was incredibly downtrodden, depressed. I mean, it was just a horrific situation here in Las Vegas. And then there was an event at the T-Mobile. And actually it was, we had a hockey player, Derek.
Derek England.
Derek England came out and spoke a few words so eloquently, and none of us knew Derek had that ability, but he moved an entire city,
He did.
an entire country.
Yeah.
And I was there that night, and it became a very, tears and solemn moment. And then after all of the seriousness and the grief of that, they dropped the puck, team won the game,
That's it.
and never looked back.
That's
Kept
it.
winning
Kept winning.
and winning and winning, and it was all like, we all felt the karma from 1 October driving this hockey team.
I agree. I actually get chills today just sitting here talking about it
Yeah.
again. And I'm sorry, I didn't. Bill Foley. I said Ed because I'm staring at Ed.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, Bill Foley and his team brought this city together unlike I've ever seen before after that incident. And they brought the first responders out on the ice, and I've had to watch it on video. I was working nonstop at the time, still investigating this criminally. But I do believe today they are so closely linked, and they have taken so many of the victims' family members under their wing, and they're just really special. They're special. And I go around the country talking about 1 October. We have a presentation that we give, and I know it sounds crazy to some people, but I tell them that a hockey team saved our city. I actually say that every time I talk about this because I think they did. They gave us something to hope for. And first year we go to the Stanley Cup. So they did. I think in so many ways they saved our city, and they continue to do that today.
Yeah. And we went to the Stanley Cup that first year based on the energy that developed on 1 October because, you looked at the roster, it wasn't the world's greatest team.
That's right. That's
It was all the gut and direction that the team had.
I think they were just fighting for this city that adopted them.
Yeah, I agree, for sure. It was a purpose and a reason. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the actual structure, what it's going to include.
Yes. So this, again, it took 4 years to get to the point where we chose a design. One of the hardest things I've ever been a part of. The 7 of us that sat on that memorial committee, we had the top 5 design teams submit their designs, and it was just meant to be that JCJ, which is a local architect firm, they were the winner. It is absolutely beautiful. From above, when you fly in, it looks like the infinity symbol. We're calling it the Forever One Memorial because that night, everyone there became Forever One, and they continue to be Forever One as a community. And so I think there's so many beautiful parts of this, but for sure the highlight will be the 58 candles that sit in the remembrance ring. One represents each life that was lost that night. Again, we're representing them through light, and they stand 58 feet high. They're 58 inches apart. I mean, it's incredible what they've done with the symbolism of 58. Yeah. And so those candles will be a very solemn place to sit and remember those that we lost and learn about them. By the way, their names will be on the candle. There's a QR code, and their families get to tell the story. So we're not telling the story. Their families are going to give us the story of their loved one and how, not just how they died, because we know how they died, but how they lived, how they lived their life, and how their family wants them to be remembered. And then what I love as well is there's this area that represents that night where 22,000 people came together to just have a great time on the Las Vegas Strip. And there was a moment during the concert before the shooting happened where Big and Rich was out performing, and they sang God Bless America. And the crowd began to sing it with them, and they sang it 5 times is what I'm told. And there's a photo that captures that moment with all the cell phones held up and their lights lit up. And so there's going to be a part of this memorial where you walk through, and it's a beautiful piece of metal artwork, and there's 22,000 points of light coming out of the artwork. We also have a community plaza where we can host events, where everything from educational events about mental health awareness, because clearly the evil person that perpetrated this had something wrong with them, and so much of our gun violence is tied to mental health issues. So we can hold events to raise awareness. We can hold events to thank first responders. The people who lost one of the 58 could even hold a celebration event there to celebrate their loved ones. So the community plaza will be a really beautiful place for people to come and gather as well.
So you're down to the wire in this last $12 million, and you have multiple ways for people to contribute and be part of this,
Yes.
correct?
Yeah,
Can I
we
go
do.
through some of those ways?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So first I'll say to any other philanthropists out there that are watching, we will gladly take your money. We'll take your donations. I think it would be a beautiful thing if some of the other sports owners here in town would contribute to this as well and take the lead like Mr. Foley did in their generosity. But the way that we can have everyday people donate, people like me, who I'm a retired cop, right? We develop these pavers that you can purchase, and the pavers will be at the entrance of the memorial. As you walk in on the ground, we're selling an 8x12 for $1,000 and a 4x12 for $500. And what I love about these, I might have been one of the first ones to buy one, is you can add your own symbol. We have different icons to choose, and you can write your own message. And if you choose to purchase a paver, I think the beautiful part of it is that you are now part of this memorial forever. Long after we're gone, this memorial will stand as a tribute to not just the lives we lost, but to the resiliency of this city, a city that, by the way, underwent the worst mass shooting in U.S. history and came back stronger than ever. We came back to host F1, the Super Bowl, numerous parades for our Aces and our Golden Knights, and the list goes on and
safely.
Safely. We
Yeah.
are better today than we've ever been. Look, I'm really proud of that, because when we wrote that after action report, there were 93 recommendations for how to get better. Today, we've accomplished 92 of those. There's only one that's outstanding, and that's because there's really no technology to do what we want to. Literally safer today than we've ever been. If you go to a Golden Knights concert or a Golden Knights game today, what people don't see are the rifles overhead, right? Those officers that are up there watching for any type of evil actor to be able to handle that immediately and swiftly, because now we know that our attack may come from an aerial position. So today we are safer than ever, but it is because of the lessons we learned from 1 October. We learned so much, and that would be a whole nother show. But we learned so much from what happened that night, and we vowed to never let these lives be lost in vain as a first responder community.
Now we're going to show those pavers on the screen. I mean, this is like getting your star. You know, if you're a celebrity, getting your star in Hollywood, right?
That's
you can,
right.
You can just buy. I'll buy one.
Please,
put me down for
please
one.
buy one, $1,000 one.
I'm gonna put me down for $1,000.
And they do have a
paver.
Golden Knights icon. We came up with that specifically. Actually, I chose that for mine.
I'll take it too.
Golden Knights icon,
Yeah.
right? I mean, again, they were part of our healing journey after this happened, and so we didn't want to leave them out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have enough room on that paver to add my wife's name?
You should
I'm
put
kidding.
her name first.
Of course. Of course.
You know that.
Of course it goes first. Okay, so you have the pavers, you have the candles, right?
Yes. And we do, so the candles are $50,000 a piece. And again, I think it's not a heavy lift for a lot of our corporations here in town to come together and say, I'd like to sponsor a candle for one of the 58 that died. As a matter of fact, my husband's campaign is sponsoring the candle for Charleston Hartfield. We lost him that night, one of our police officers, and a wonderful human being.
He was there attending?
He was there attending with his wife and died while he was trying to shelter people and get them to safety.
Was he lying on top of somebody or something?
And that was Charleston. He was a military man, and he lived a life of service, and he died living a life of service. And so those candles are $50,000, and there's a naming opportunity there. We have this beautiful donor wall that we're building into the memorial. So if anyone wants to find out about other naming opportunities, we'd be happy to talk to them about that. And they can go to foreveronememorial.org and look at all of the different ways they can donate. But there's really a lot to be done in a city like ours, where I think, you know, Ed, we know people come here to have a good time. We see the glitz, we see the glamour. What we're going to build on the Las Vegas Strip is going to be an incredible tribute to a community that came together in ways we've never seen before, quite honestly, at least in my time here in Las Vegas, and I've been here since 1990. The line around the building to donate blood, the amount of resources that showed up at our Family Assistance Center. We had to actually turn people away that wanted to donate. I just remember those days as inspiring, and so this memorial will continue that inspiration, and for a lot of people it is the last leg on their healing journey to have this built.
You know, Kelly, why does it take a catastrophe like that to bring people together?
I don't know. I wish I knew the answer to that.
Yeah.
I really don't know the answer. After all the years of working on the street too, I can tell you I've seen the best of humanity and I've seen the worst of humanity.
Right.
And certainly this night, you know, I went up to the room where the shooter the set of rooms that he had. And I'll never forget looking down from the windows and the eerie feeling that I had and thinking, my God, this just happened in this city, in our city. But the hope and the resilience and the love and the sense of community that I saw in the days and weeks afterwards gave me hope to believe in the best of humanity.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. You mentioned that your husband is the sheriff.
He is. Now, let me be clear, though. I'm the sheriff in our house, but he's the sheriff
Well,
at
I
work.
was going to ask you, what is, like, you have First Lady, the president's wife's the First Lady. So what is the sheriff's wife called?
I don't know what they call me now, but when he was the undersheriff, they did call me FLOTUS, First Lady of the Undersheriff. And I had a hat. I still have my hat. I'm not sure what they call me now, but it sure is an honor to be married to the man that I think is taking incredible care of our city right now.
How did you get involved in police work?
Oh, that's a funny story. I was an opera singer in college. I actually went to
Really?
UNLV on a full ride to sing opera. Liberace gave me the scholarship,
Yeah.
his foundation.
Wow.
But I was catching shoplifters as my job, and I just kept running into police officers. And so one day, one of them invited me on a ride along. I got in the car. I was in that car for 10 hours, and I never looked back. It was the most exciting 10 hours of my life. And I got to tell you, I'm grateful, obviously, today because I met my husband working graveyard. We went on to have 5 kids and 3 amazing grandkids. But this city is special, and being able to police here was the honor of a lifetime, really.
Yeah, wow. And it's time you joined the police department. I assume, I don't know, but I assume there weren't that many women.
No, there weren't that many.
Right.
Matter of fact, I worked graveyard at Southeast Area Command as the only female for probably 3 years. So yeah, there were not a whole lot of us. But I have to tell you, I always felt welcomed. I always felt like my partners had my back and I had theirs, and I've been able to have some incredible experiences and work for some of the best leaders that this city has ever seen. People like Doug Gillespie and Joe Lombardo, and I did work for my husband, I guess, technically. So it was really special, I think, to grow up. And I think the best part is what I've been able to do for other women that are on the job. I'd like to think that the women that came before me opened the doors for me, and I was able to do the same for this next generation of young female police officers.
It's so different today, right? I mean,
I think,
just
well,
with women entering into those fields. Like, for instance, like for years, I mean, there were very few women that went to law school. Now it's well over 50% of
Right.
the law school students are women.
Yeah, I think it is different. The one thing, and my husband knows this, so when I was in the police academy, they made us cut our hair off, and I mean, it was gone, it was short. Now they don't have to cut their hair. I always say, it's like when you tell your kids I walked to school in the snow uphill the whole way. I'd like to think that it's a very welcoming place for women to step into, and that they feel absolutely that they're equal to their male counterparts. But again, it goes back to those first women that started to break the barrier. The first women and the people that raised us women, that, like my dad, that told me there's nothing that should stop you in this world. You go do what you want to do, you follow your dreams. But I think that today, I'd like to think that it's a little bit easier for the women than maybe it was when I hired on.
Yeah, I'm sure, I can see that it is. Yeah. And now you can't watch a television show without the woman being the main character in the police show.
That's right.
And there's a lot of them.
I'm watching one right now, actually, yes. You're right.
Yeah, for sure. So now, somebody wants to make a contribution, somebody wants to get more information. How do they reach somebody to get information?
Absolutely. They can go to foreveronememorial.org. And there's a way that they can leave us messages. There's a button that they can donate. And I believe that on there's also contact information for our executive director. And we are happy to talk to anyone who has any questions about the memorial.
Okay. Foreverone.org.
Foreveronememorial.org.
Foreveronememorial.org. Now, the plan is to break ground at the end of this year. Then it takes what? You have phases, right? It's going to be built in, is it 2 phases?
So we have phases right now. And no matter what, by the 10th Remembrance, we are on course both financially and construction-wise to have phase 1, I think we're calling it 1A, done. However, if I can get this last $12 million, Ed, I think we can get the whole thing almost completely done by the 10th anniversary. And that really is our goal, is to finish up with this $12 million, get it in hand, and build this impacted community what it is that they deserve in 10 years.
Yeah, well look, there's a lot of we have a lot of hotels that are potential I feel like I'm on a PBS show now.
There you go.
Hey, hotels, go call, get your calls in now and contribute.
That's it. I like it. Anyone out there who wants to contribute. It really is going to be something unique to our city to build this lasting, beautiful monument, again, that's going to be here long after we're gone. And I just think that there's people out there that help build this city that should have their names attached to this, right? I think it's important that we look, when people come to visit, that they look up and they see some of the most important names in our city reflected on the donor wall.
Right. I agree. And it's interesting how I was out of town on Monday, I was in LA, and I was flying back, and I realized how the look of the city is changing. I mean, the whole landscape of the city and this, now the sphere is like so prominent,
Yes.
and the infinity look of what you're describing and the memorial is, we keep growing and changing and re-identifying, but still keeping our underlying identity here.
Yeah,
in a lot of ways in Las Vegas.
I agree.
So it's an amazing time, and it's hard to grow and to keep your eye on the historical part of where you came from at the same time.
And this will help with that, right?
Yeah.
I have to say, one thing that I go back to a lot, when this happened, the night of October 1st, 2017, the next morning on the 2nd, the sun started to come up, and I realized as I was looking up at the sky that airplanes were going to be flying over this field where we had people there that were gone. And I made the call. We shut down all air traffic over the field. And then I forgot to reopen it, but that's a different story. We got it reopened a couple days later. I think now, I feel like I'm going to come full circle on this one, Ed. When we get this built and people now fly over that same field, and from the air they can see this beautiful infinity symbol with light representing not just the lives lost, but again, representing just the love of community in this city. I'm excited about that.
And light offers hope as well.
Oh, 100%.
Thank you so much, Kelly McMahill. Hey, Sharif, you got a great wife.
I second that. Thanks, Ed.
See you all next week.